You're listening to How to 20-something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to How to 20-something, where today's episode is to help you get unstuck. I find that when we feel stuck, we're actually afraid of being embarrassed, making the wrong decision, or our mind is just completely and totally blank. The result puts us in one of two lands, the land of no or the land of I don't know. And I'm going to use this episode to help you identify which land you're currently the mayor of, and of course, what to do about it. So let's first rewind to how you got here. You became the mayor the second you felt like nothing sounded like a good idea, where regardless of the decision at hand, every single thing feels wrong or lame, or weird, or annoying, or exhausting, and you're hesitating because you want to make sure whatever you choose is perfect or right, and you don't want to disappoint the people around you, including yourself. However, this default response of I don't know or no is holding you back from giving anything a try. I have two clients right now who represent each of these lands perfectly. And it's why I felt the need to make an episode about it. And I'll be incorporating their examples throughout because chances are, if they're feeling this way, then so are you. I've also personally served as mayor in each of these lands at different times. So let's start with welcoming you to the land of no, the place where every idea sounds horrible and hopefulness goes to die. Dramatic, I know. But you know you're in the land of no when everyone around you is presenting you with an idea, a path, a strategy, a solution, and all you can say in response is no. One of my clients was in a funk in one of our sessions and told me every option I was talking to him about felt weird. We're working on landing him his first full-time job, and after a lot of online job searching and implementing my process of connecting with people on LinkedIn or via email, it was time to change the strategy because clearly this one isn't doing him any favors right now. That looked like recommending he go into businesses with a resume in hand and ask to speak to someone in HR. Sounds absolutely terrifying, I know, but his response was, "That's weird." I asked him what was weird about it, and he replied with, "No one does that." And I go, exactly, because no one does that. You are standing out amongst all of your competitors applying for the same entry-level position, or you're putting yourself in the eyes of someone with inside knowledge about job openings that haven't even been posted yet. He shrugged it off and said no. We talked about doing low-stake jobs first so he can get used to this weird feeling, because it is uncomfortable. It is weird, but it's how you get to a real person when online isn't working out. It's powerful to do so as long as you have the self-confidence to back it up when it's time to walk into that building and ask about a job, which is where we get to work on a plan of what he's going to do and say and act across multiple different scenarios, not just sending him off and saying sink or swim. But his land of no was preventing him from even thinking about the possibility of going in somewhere. So we had to first work on his funk. Chances are, you're saying no to everything because you're in a funk. Maybe for you, it's not in regards to your career, but friendships, dating, working out, where you've been trying and nothing is happening. So you end up ignoring texts or not reaching out to see people's availability because you're not feeling social enough, or ghosting the people you were talking to right when it comes time for a first date because you no longer feel like giving something a try. The land of no means you're rejecting every option before you even try them or entertain the idea of them. Because trying a new approach to get an outcome you feel like you've been putting a lot of effort towards sounds exhausting and like another moment for you to get your hopes up and then be crushed again. By saying no, you think you're protecting yourself because it means you can't mess up or let yourself down, or you're waiting for a better option to become available, or you're too tired or overwhelmed to say yes to anything else, or everything just feels pointless. No is predictable. It's safe. Yes is the opposite. It's adventurous, it's scary, it's risk-taking, it's vulnerable. And if you're in a funk, such as my client, then you don't have the capacity for adventure. So step 1 is get out of this funk. I asked him, have you been outside today? Mind you, our session was in the afternoon. And he said no. I go, have you eaten yet? He said no. I go, okay, step 1, get yourself fed and outside. We are like plants and animals in that regard. And tomorrow, you need to get out of bed and dress when your alarm goes off. Because the longer you lay around in your bed, the less energized you're going to feel to take care of your basic needs, sending yourself deeper and deeper into this funk and therefore deeper and deeper into the land of no. The next thing is to find little things to say yes to. Low commitment, low energy, low risk things. Like saying yes to going grocery shopping or to calling your grandparents. Find at least 3 things that you can say yes to and know that with each yes, you're putting yourself closer to getting on your plane and flying out of this land of no and towards the land of willing to try. It's not as glamorous of a name, but hey, that's showbiz. Now, if you're part of the land of I don't know population, then welcome. We have different work to do. You also think nothing sounds like a good idea. It just appears differently. Where now every decision feels impossible, or you don't want to sound stupid, so instead of giving an answer, you give a shoulder shrug answer. It's giving you an illusion of control, because not deciding means you won't have to face any potential consequences, feelings of regret, or look foolish. Like you stay in your relationship because you don't know if this is your person or not. Or you stay in a job because you don't know what else to do. And this was me 100% when I landed my first full-time job back in 2019. I've mentioned this story a lot of times, but I really was not thrilled with what I was doing. With having a full-time job, I was very much in a, this is it, thought. But I also didn't know what else I could do or what my options were. So I don't know comes when there are too many options. So your mind just goes blank towards any. Or when you're afraid to commit or you're afraid to get that answer wrong. I mean, this is talk about commitment issues, am I right? No, but seriously, this is such a common land to be in. You guys are all fighting for mayorship. One of my other clients has proven herself to be the mayor of this land of I don't know. And I don't mean that as an insult to her. It's something we get to work on when it comes to her confidence and having me as her coach. She is someone who gets very upset and flustered when she doesn't have the quote unquote right answer. It was all over her discovery call with me. I even had people fill out an intake form prior to that call, and all of her answers were I don't know. And then it really, really reigned true on our very first session when we were discussing goals. And she was crying because she didn't have an answer for me. Whether it was because she didn't want to disappoint me with giving any final answer or because she genuinely didn't know. I find it's usually a combination of both. In this example, we were talking about creating a goal around making connections with people. And she said she wants to make some connections. As her coach, I challenged her and I said, we need to put a number to it because we need something we can measure. And she didn't know a number. So we broke it down. I said, look, we're setting goals for the next 90 days. 1 connection a day would be 90 connections. Does that feel like a lot? Mind you, she's crying right now since she's so overwhelmed and frustrated with the job process she's already been on by herself. So I assured her and said, 90 feels like a lot to me, especially if I don't know of any connections I could be making in this moment. Which means we know that your number is somewhere between 0, which is where you're at right now, and that's not working, and 90, which feels like a shit ton, rightfully so. And I was like, this is great. We have numbers we can start to narrow down. And knowing what I know about this client, I said, what about 30? Does 30 sound like a lot? And through her tears, she said yes. I go, great, we're getting closer. We know it's somewhere between 0 and 30. Over the course of 90 days, and remember, I'm going to teach you how to make these connections, what number feels scary but doable? We settled on 15. So I was able to take her out of the land of I don't know and bring her back to reality with a concrete plan that works for her and won't send her spiraling. You see, when there are too many options, your mind is going to go completely blank, where finding any option feels nearly impossible. It's a matter of breaking the emptiness down into something tangible. How many connections do you want to make was too open of a question for her. Pick a number between 1 and 30 is something within reach. She was new to our coaching partnership, so I had to learn that she needs parameters to help with the decision-making process. Otherwise, she sends herself off the deep end and back to the center of I don't know land. So when you're in this land of I don't know, it's not because you're indecisive. It's because you're scared of picking the wrong thing. You haven't even thought of what would be the right thing. If you're a known people pleaser, or if you haven't given yourself parameters to choose between, so you go blank with all the possibilities. I enter the land of no when my business coach talks to me about strategies for new clients. It's like all of a sudden, I have no idea how to talk about what I do, or who I've spoken to, or results my clients have gotten, or what it takes to begin a coaching partnership with someone new. And I look at her, my expert, for the answer because my mind has fully shut off. And it shuts off when there's too much at stake. Things I really want for myself and not wanting to get the answer wrong. In other words, being seen as a fool or a dumbass. So I stare blankly at her until she starts to talk, which then helps the gears in my brain begin moving again. So in order to get out of this land of I don't know, you need to start making tiny choices. Just like in the land of no, you need to make little yeses. Break down the bigger I don't know question into smaller ones, like what I did with my client. How many connections do you want to make in the next 3 months was too big. Narrowing it down from 1 to 90 and then 1 to 30 helps get to an answer that doesn't consist of I don't know. While also being her coach and reassuring her that there is no wrong answer. Whatever answer is right for her is going to be the right one for us to work with. Within reason. If she gave the answer as 2, I would remind her that I will be teaching her multiple different processes to making connections. And it can definitely be more than 2. But you have to work on building up your knowledge muscles because you do know. You're just afraid of the answer or not confident in what you have to say. Little yeses along the way will give you the proof you need to answer the seemingly bigger question at hand. And along that same line is stop looking for the right answer. There is no right answer. There is no one right way to do life. So release the black and white mindset. It's not that simple. And I get it. You go your entire life being graded on your performance and how well you studied or how well you know a subject. So it's your performance, your intellect, your behaviors. But that's not how the real adult world works. I mean, sure, when it comes to getting a bonus or promotion, it might apply. But when it comes to life decisions, that's not the case anymore. You have to work to unlearn everything school taught you, which is definitely easier said than done. But the consequences of not trying to do so is going to keep you as the mayor of the land of I don't know. Besides, you don't need to know all the answers for forever and ever. You just need to know today. The land of I don't know and the land of no are very similar, which I'll get to in a sec. But they differ in that when you give an I don't know response, you're not necessarily closed off from hearing what someone else has to say. I don't know is tricking you into letting yourself believe you're thinking or being cautious or, like I said, open to possibilities. But the reality is it's the same as no, just showing up in a different way. Because both the land of no and the land of I don't know are keeping you exactly where you are, stuck. So when all else fails, when you're really sitting deep in your own trap of no or I don't know, I want you to pick something to try. Literally anything. If it's not 15 connections to come up with, then it's 1, because at least 1 is more than 0. If it's not going into businesses, then it's going into a coffee shop. Lower the stakes, because the higher the stakes, the more scared you're going to be from trying anything, and that's when you become paralyzed in your respective lands. Doing something is always going to be better than doing nothing or continuing to do what you're doing right now that you know isn't working. because confidence comes from action, not the other way around. So stop waiting for the right answer and go find it. You have to move. You have to say yes to something small, even when it feels dumb or weird or uncertain. That's how you get back your sense of momentum. And that's how you earn your one-way ticket out of both lands. So hopefully, by now, you have your game plan to earning your ticket out of your land when nothing sounds like a good idea. Which means this does conclude another episode of How to 20-something. If you liked what you heard, learned something new, are ready to take action, or know someone who is currently fighting for mayorship of the land of no or I don't know, then pass this episode along. Post it to your story, send it to a friend. Just please help me increase my reach for the people who listen to this podcast. That way I can help all of the 20-somethings navigating the most confusing decade of their lives. And as always, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.